This is Rick Rule for Rule Investment Media, sponsors of the 2024 Natural Resources Investment Symposium, held in Boca Raton, Florida, July 7 through 11. Whether you attend live in person or whether you attend via live stream, two important things to consider. We'll give you between 50 and 60 hours of programming within 4 days. Far too much programming for you to absorb all of it. So the conference will be available to both live and live stream attendees via recording after the conference, which you will need to access. The second thing is that we are going to interview every speaker and every sponsor of the conference before the conference, so that you can study up on exhibitors that you're interested in, use your time more efficiently, and contact the sponsors either before or during the event. Note too that every sponsor at this conference has been vetted. Any public company which has been invited to exhibit at the conference is owned in accounts either owned or managed by myself. While my ownership is no guarantee that a stock goes up, it is a guarantee that every single exhibitor has been vetted and has met the test for investment with my own money. This morning, to that end, I am interviewing an executive who I've known for more than 10 years, a man named Christian Easterday, who has spent a decade building a very attractive, by now, copper developer called Chile. Christian, welcome to the Natural Resources Investment Symposium interviews.
Hi, great to be with you, Rick.
So let's give folks a brief overview what it is that you're trying to do, the sort of scope and scale of what you're trying to do. Give people, the 2-minute, 10,000 meter flyover of Chile.
Sure, Rick. Well, as you know, we started this journey almost 14 years ago when we went to the coastline of Chile and started consolidating a very large land holding, which is now our flagship project, Costa Fuego. And there's a saying in this industry: if you're going to take a 20-year journey to develop a large-scale copper mine, then it's always good to have a very healthy head start. We have over 1 billion tons of resources defined on the coastline. We're one of the largest scale copper developers at the lowest altitude within the Americas. And that project is now entering the final phases and positioning us to be one of the very few very meaningful 100,000 ton copper plays that is scheduled into production at the end of this decade after a very long and large investment by our group.
Christian, you made reference to the coast, and I want you to explain the differences between a deposit on the coast with better access to infrastructure and those projects that are in more remote locations in the high Andes.
Yes, Rick, it's extremely important in this business. Most of our peer projects, in fact, the majority of large-scale copper production in the Americas comes from high altitude. Those projects suffer from very large capexes and higher operating costs. In comparison, we have the advantage of being down below 700 meters next to port on the Pan American Highway, connecting into grid power, and also with the advantage that we can process our ore bodies using salt water, so no requirement for expensive desalination water solutions into the high Andes. Ultimately, this translates into one of the lowest capital intensity major copper developments in the pipeline.
And tell us something about what you see happening over the next 12 to 18 months. Investing in development stage companies is very much a process of de-risking and increasing your understanding of the deposit. What sort of catalysts, what sort of unanswered questions will you be answering in the next 12 to 18 months?
Well, quite a number. Now that we have a very, very strengthened treasury, some $35 million to apply to accelerating our development plan, as well as continuing to add further growth to this 1 billion ton resource play on the coastline. We'll be aiming to deliver our pre-feasibility on this combined development, scaled at around 100,000 tons of annual copper production. So one of the top 5 or top 6 developments by scale outside of the major miners. And we'll be also looking to advance a pre-feasibility on a potentially large separate water business that the company has been investigating. On top of those two pre-feasibility or development catalysts, what we're really aiming to do is also to continue our consolidation of this large land holding and expose our shareholders to further resource growth, particularly targeting high-grade front-end starter pick optionality.
When might the preliminary economic assessment be completed? When might shareholders have a sort of a conceptual sense of the value here?
Yeah, well, look, the PEA, which was put out about almost a year ago, 9 months ago, that was done against a pre-feasibility which was almost 80% complete. Those development studies have been on pause while equity markets were not exactly conducive for developers to be spending large on development. And that all changed about 3 months ago. So it's very pleasing that we've taken a 14-year journey to be positioned at the beginning of a copper cycle. We've seen copper prices lift around $1, positive contangos in the market, and almost falling TCRCs approaching zero. So all of the signs are there for the beginning of a copper cycle. So this is where Hot Chili now changes its strategy, shifts into top gear, and accelerates on its development plan, as well as bringing growth to the table in our final consolidation moves in the area.
This is one of the driest places on the planet. You're in the southern stretches of the Atacama, basically. Tell us something about the water business and what's unique about Hot Chile in that regard.
Yeah, and this is really unique. It's not often that you find a junior trying to take on a major development, a capital bill that's going to be high for any junior to lift, but it's not often that you find an embedded, potentially large business sitting within a copper developer. That is a potential water business. We've been investigating it for over a year. It's come about because we are in one of the driest parts on the planet, in the Chilean Atacama Desert. New mining developments are not able to extract continental water for mining purposes anymore. And we happen to have found ourselves following about 12 years of permitting on our own water requirements to extract salt water from the ocean, having the only maritime license within the Huasco region, which sports about 20% of new global copper supply out of large developments neighbouring our project. So recently we've applied for a second maritime concession to upgrade that to a desalination ability. And we're now looking to split that water business into a separate company that will allow investment and allow it to be effectively weaponized to be utilized for funding purposes to fund our large-scale copper project. That is something that a lot of juniors struggle to determine the correct formula to be able to lift that kind of capital. With a large-scale copper business that can service up to 4,000 litres per second of desalination water supply to the region, we not just have the solution for our neighbouring projects, we have a potentially large multi-user water network that can be established. We're seeing a significant amount of interest from international infrastructure groups and also from our neighbouring peer projects for potential offtake arrangements.
So, Christian, if our attendees are interested in a potential world-scale copper business and at least a locally important water business and want to learn more about Hot Chile, who specifically in the company should they contact, and how can they contact that person?
Well, Rick, my door is always open to all shareholders. I'm very approachable by my email or by contact from our website, www.hotchili.net.au, and certainly also our Vice President, Jose Ignacio Silva, who you know well, who has been by my side and is our Vice President down there in Chile. We're developing a not just a meaningfully sized, globally important copper project, one of the first in line outside of the majors to be brought to production this decade, but also a potentially world scale water business opportunity in parallel, both of those for delivery of key milestones at the end of this year.
Christian, thank you for 14 years of effort on behalf of shareholders, myself included. Thank you, too, for your ongoing support of the Natural Resources Investment Symposium. I look forward to hosting you in Boca Raton, Florida, July 7 through 11.
Looking forward to be there.